Hello and welcome back to another episode of Translating Love with me, Woifi.
And Dani.
And Danielle the Great. Danielle the Small but Great.
Not that small.
Danielle the Tiny and but Great.
Tiny is smaller than small.
Danielle the Tangible.
Diny.
Danielle the Diny. We are back with a new episode. First of all, thank you for everyone that is still listening and keeping up with this nonsense that we put out into the world.
I'm so glad you call our podcast nonsense. It's such a great way to promote it.
No, but it's I don't know, it's just so weird. We're sitting here talking about stuff and people are like, oh, that's so interesting. I don't want to insult you because I listen to the podcast and
As
I like
I mock
it.
you, I don't want to insult you, but...
No, but I mean, I'm listening to the podcast.
Me too.
I'm so... I don't know what I have... I don't know. I have so much time on my hand that I don't really know what to do. So I listen to my own podcast, which is kind of sad.
He just likes listening to himself talk.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's totally what it is.
He skips through every time that I start talking and
There's a
presses
function.
play when
There's
he
a
starts.
function in my podcast app where I can just press that button and just automatically plays the male voices. It's called the mansplaining button.
I see.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, but seriously, thank you for everyone who is still listening and keep sharing the podcast. I know I say that every time, and I know that not everyone is sharing the podcast, and I totally understand. But if you have like an episode that you really liked, or if something that stuck with you, or I don't know, please share it. It would help us tremendously because, yeah, all we want to do is reach some people, and yeah, we can't do that alone.
No, we can't.
So please help us. Please, sir.
Please, sir.
Please, sir.
I want some more.
I want some more shares, please, sir. Please, a share and a like, please, sir. And please, if you could subscribe, sir, to the podcast, that would be super nice, sir, please. Like, share, subscribe, and also, no, you can't really like it, but like, what is it called?
Technically on Spotify, you can like it.
No, but like, give it some stars, review it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be awesome too. But yeah, let's dig into the new episode.
So this episode, we're talking about recovering from an argument. So we talked about arguing, and now we're talking about the aftermath of arguing.
We also
So
talked a
how
little bit
to,
about
like-
anger.
Yep. And so how to like come back together to resolve an argument.
Yeah. Huh. I have to say,
Why do you laugh at that?
no, it's not always easy. And I have to say, I recently read something somewhere. I don't know where it was. I think it was an article, or it was just a post, or some wise quote from someone. I don't know. But it said that basically, I don't know what it said exactly, but the meaning of it, or what I
The gist of it.
the gist of it, or what I took away from it, was that basically getting rid of any tension and coming together as soon as possible is the best way to not only avoid times where everyone feels shitty or avoiding each other or stuff like that, but also it's much better to address certain issues right away rather than dwell on them.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always, if you fight with someone, there's always this thing just keeps hanging around in the air. Until you address it, it won't be gone. And that's with everyone. If you fight with your parents or with your siblings or with a good friend or with your partner, it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
So as the young kids say, squashing the beef as early.
Did they say that?
I don't know. As a vegan, I'm a little offended by that saying, but I'm still calling it.
Squashing the beef. I don't
squashing the beef.
think any kids say that.
I'm pretty sure. But doesn't matter. Squashing the beef as soon as possible is the best way to come together and to avoid that really dreadful time.
Yep. So I thought we could just talk about how we each feel after an argument. So individually, how we feel. So how do you typically, and obviously every argument is different, but I mean more like the really heated ones where you really feel like you can't be around each other for a while. Like what kinds of emotions, what kinds of feelings do you have in those moments? So after the argument has passed.
I mean, usually in the first few hours, I would say, if it was a big fight, I'm angry either at myself or at you or just at everything. But I'm just trying to calm myself down and trying to see the whole thing from a different perspective or angle, and I don't know, trying to basically get the big picture. Like, was it really worth it? How dumb was it? What did I do or what did you do that upset each other or something like that? And I don't know, just understanding what happened and why it happened, and also maybe if there was something else there that didn't get addressed or that swung with it, swinged with it. What is it? Swung. Swings.
What are you trying to say there?
Like,
I don't understand what you're doing.
something that I don't know, you had maybe a bad day or someone said something shitty to you or something shitty happened, and that kind of swings into the whole fight.
I would say it plays into it.
Oh, but what is the swing, swung?
I swang?
I swang? No.
It's so weird when I think about English words that I don't use very often.
That's not it.
I forget.
Swang.
Yeah, he swang at the plate. I'm doing baseball terms now because I don't think it's swang. He swung at the plate. It's swung.
Swung. With an O.
No, with a U.
Oh, with a U.
Swung. Not swung.
Swung. Okay, but you get what I want to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what about after anger? So you talked a little bit more about like what you do after an argument, but what are you feeling after besides anger?
I mean, I feel shitty most of the time. If we don't address it, I feel like, okay, I can't really talk to you. I have to avoid you, or I want to give you space, but at the same time, I don't want to tiptoe around it. So it's more like that's what I said. It's like this really awkward and kind of annoying feeling that's just like it's just in the air and everyone feels it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling after an argument? Sorry. How are you feeling after an argument?
I typically, I don't know, it depends also, like you said, it depends on the argument itself, but usually I'm angry at first too. And depending on it's the same. If I did something stupid, then I'm angry with myself. If you hurt my feelings, then I'm angry with you. Sometimes I'm angry at both of us. Sometimes I'm just angry that we fought in the first place, because sometimes the fight is so stupid that there was no need to fight.
Yep.
But then I mostly have like feelings of like I'm sad and just really I feel it in my entire body, where I kind of feel like what is it? Debilitated?
Dehydrated?
No. I hate that word.
Deliberate?
No, it's
delivered.
It's when I think about the word too much that I can't think about it. I can't like remember the word. But it's debilitating. Is that what the word is?
I don't know.
Debilitating?
I don't
Something
know, but
like
I know
that.
what you mean.
But it basically makes me feel like I can't do anything else. Like I'm stuck sitting in this feeling, and no matter what else I do to try to distract myself, it doesn't help. Like
that's a big
just
difference
sit there.
because I can do everything and I can have fun and I
but
can
see,
just
for me
put
that triggers
aside.
me more, because then I'm like, he's totally fine, because from my eyes you're
not.
playing or you're working or you're
I'm not.
laughing at some video. And I have to tell you, when we just got done with an argument and then I hear you laughing at something, I really want to slap you in the face.
That's not nice.
In my head, I'm like, God damn it.
That's not
You
nice.
son of a bitch.
First of all, most of the time, the argument comes from both of us.
No, sure.
And
And I'm not saying otherwise.
And also, But why am I not allowed to have fun after?
No, sure, but it's not about that. It's not about you being allowed or not allowed to do something. But when I'm sitting there feeling miserable because we fought, when I hear you laughing, to me, that's like, in my head, it's like, okay, he doesn't give a shit. He's totally fine now. We're not going to like talk about it. It's just, it's over. He's having a good time and, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just in my head, that's like the play that goes on in my head when you seemingly are totally fine.
Yeah, seemingly totally fine.
Yeah.
No, but that's the difference. I can just put it aside,
Yeah,
which doesn't mean that I'm not like feeling it or I'm not thinking about it, but I can just put it aside and get things done or entertain myself if it's just for a minute with a stupid video.
See, I can still
Sorry.
I can still get things done if they have to get done. So like if I have to go to work or if I have to, you know, whatever I have to do, then sure.
So
Why
it's
are you
basically
laughing?
No, it's funny that has to get done.
Yeah, but
It's like I can survive, but everything else.
No, that's not. You don't get what I'm saying.
No, I know
man.
what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
But
No,
if
I
something
know.
needs to be done, it doesn't stop me from being able to physically do it, is what I'm saying. But I'm still thinking about it the entire time. So I'll be somewhere else while I'm doing the thing that I have to do. Instead of being in the thing that I have to do.
But it's the same with me. I mean, if we fight and I go to work or I have to work somewhere, whatever, then I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm just not like super like distracted by it because I have to focus on what I'm doing right now, and that's the main thing.
Yeah.
But once that's done and checked off, I can go back to the other thing. But that's what I said at the beginning. I want to squash the beef. Let's call it Beyond Beef. I want to squash the Beyond Beef as soon as possible because I don't want to run around a day. Even though I'm technically fine, I don't want to run around the day feeling like, okay, there's still something.
Sorry, why not just squash the carrot or squash the
squash?
Squash the squash.
Let's do it that. But yeah, I want to do that as soon as possible because then I, first of all, can focus better on the work or whatever I'm doing. Second, the day doesn't feel like as it does. I wouldn't say shitty, but yeah, kind of shitty. And also, like this feeling of, okay, there's something that needs to be addressed still, which could have been done already, but it's not. And
I read too that a lot of times, because people say that the best thing you can do is obviously come back together and talk about it, but they say that men typically need longer than women do.
Yeah, and also men typically don't need, like, give themselves more time. They're fine or seemingly fine faster.
Mm-hmm. But it still takes them longer to come back to actually talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's not to generalize things. That's just statistically speaking. Men tend to need more time. But yeah. So let's go into like what we do after an argument. So like things that we do when we want to recover, like when we want to resolve it. So we've taken our space. So for for him especially, he needs space. And I'm learning to be able to accept that you need space.
I mean, my goal is that I don't need space. My goal is that I can just quickly get myself out of the situation, calm myself down, and come back to it right away. That's my goal.
I think there's nothing wrong with needing space because I think for me, it's also good for me to learn that
I know, but it's not
you
about
taking
that.
the space is good for both of us because there have been countless times where we come back together too soon and we start to resolve it and we end up fighting again.
Yeah.
And that happens because you're not back.
Because of you. No.
That's nice.
It's totally true. But still, I mean, my goal is to end something as quick as possible, especially if it's super small and it doesn't really matter, which most of our fights don't.
I think, the majority of our fights are not really over anything too serious. But when we do come back together, and this is something we still work on, but we've been working on not repeating everything that happened because that was also a problem for us where it would be a lot of like, well, then I said this and you said this and that's why I feel this, where we were both there. We don't need to recall the entire fight. We both know what happened. So if in my eyes, if there's something relevant in order to say, like, when you did this, it made me feel like this, okay. But at the same time, I think those things might be obvious most of the time. Like, you know if something you said hurt my feelings.
Yeah, sure.
And same with me. I know if something I did or said hurt your feelings. So I think it's more what we're trying to work on is more just apologizing to each other.
Getting the things out that are need to get out.
Getting things out that are absolutely necessary.
Yeah. And
if
also
it's not just like a stupid little fight.
Come to the point. I think that's the major goal. Come to the point right away and not talk around it or go through it again or try to make the other person understand the obvious.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
But also voicing, because sometimes I explain things that you say are obvious, but based on the behavior itself, it doesn't seem obvious to me, which is why I explain it. So I think something that we're also learning is to vocalize those things to each other in a nice way where we say, I already understand that, or you don't need to explain that because I get where you're coming from, things like that. And something we also work on is active listening, which is basically acknowledging what the person said by in some way repeating it back to them.
Yeah.
So not just saying yeah or okay or I get it, things like that, but if I were to say it hurt my feelings when you blah, and then you repeat I'm sorry that I said this and hurt your feelings. You know, so it's like it's just a good way to help each other feel understood and heard.
Yeah, that's true.
So we still have not mastered the resolving arguments, but we're working on them and it's getting better, I think.
Yeah.
I think we've gotten a lot better. And sometimes it's as simple as like one of us comes to the other and we give each other a hug, we say I'm sorry, and that's it. Yeah. Because sometimes that's all it takes.
I think the biggest thing in coming together and apologizing and getting the stupid stuff aside is putting your ego aside, because most of the time the ego is in your way, and it's so big in that moment because you don't want to be, you want to feel understood, and you don't want to feel like you have to bow down or you come in second or whatever. You know, I think that's the biggest issue that's there.
Well, I think a lot of people think, too, that there's a winner and a loser in a fight, and you can't go into that in any relationship. There's no winning, there's no losing.
It's stupid.
You both have equal shares in the argument. If you argue, you're both part of it, unless you literally said and did nothing and the other person just randomly starts screaming at you.
Right.
But
if you feel like there has to be a winner or a loser, I think there's something else wrong with the relationship. But ultimately, the goal is to come together again and to resolve it and to move forward and be happy, or address bigger problems that have to be addressed, maybe. But the ego is just a big kind of like stone on the road that needs to just be put aside. Just step down for a second and say, fuck it. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. Who the fuck cares? Because nobody cares. And resolve it. Yeah.
So I looked up a couple of tips for things not to do and things to do in terms of resolving an argument. So some of the what not to do's are don't pretend that it didn't happen.
What happened?
Wait, what? What are you talking about? Huh? But yeah, you don't want to have the argument and then just go back to normal, act as if it didn't happen. Like
children, basically, or like teenagers.
Yeah.
Who like have big fights and then they don't speak for 2 weeks and then they come together. Hey, how are you? What happened? And it's like, nobody knows.
Well, and that leads to another one. They call it the deep freeze. They say don't deep freeze, and that's essentially that. So not talking about it until things slowly start to go back to normal on their own. So you basically ignore the problem and act semi-normal with each other, and then eventually it will just...
That's what men do.
You'll kind of just
fucking
go back
idiot.
to normal.
And then 2 weeks later, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
It's okay. And then 4 weeks later, I love you, buddy.
Yeah. So that's not a healthy way to resolve an argument.
Stupid.
Don't punish each other, which is, for example, the silent treatment. So just not talking or speaking to their person even when they're trying to speak to you, or being passive aggressive. That's something I have a problem with.
Yeah.
But that's also getting better. That's not so bad
yeah.
anymore. But passive aggressiveness is never good.
Mm-hmm.
And don't not apologize. So double negative there. So
apologize.
Apologize. And I think it's important for everyone, really, but I think men more so. I think a lot of times men feel like when they say sorry, it's like they're giving up or they're giving in to something. And maybe that's not true, but that's how I feel in my experience, at least. And so it's important to know that saying sorry is not saying, if I say I'm sorry to you, I'm not saying I was wrong necessarily, or I'm not saying you were right in your actions. I'm just saying my actions were not acceptable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my part in the argument.
Yeah.
And you're not admitting defeat or something.
No.
It's not winning and losing. It's just, I'm sorry that we fought. I'm sorry. That's what I try to say a lot when we argue is I'm sorry that we argued and I'm sorry for my part of it. And that I think goes a long way because you're taking responsibility.
Yeah, no, totally true. Let's take a quick break.
Yeah,
because
let's take a quick break.
We have sponsors and we want to get the word out because we're an important podcast. So if someone asks you, what are you listening to? Then you say it's an important podcast.
It is. When we come back, we'll talk about how to do it right. So stick around.
Stick around.
You know, I need to take a quick break from talking so much because I'm really, really thirsty.
Oh, you're thirsty.
I'm so thirsty. I could really use some water right about now.
Oh, what is with that water bottle next to you?
What water bottle?
The Salty Mind water bottle.
Oh, that's a great water bottle. And my beverage is so cold.
Yeah.
It's been in there for like 12 hours and it's still super cold.
And it will be cold for another 12 hours.
24 whole hours of chilled water?
Danielle, just let me tell you about this really cool product.
Tell me all about it.
And I'm really excited about it. Salty Mind is our first sponsor, and they sent us 2 of the really, really awesome looking bottles. And we could not be more excited because it's stainless steel. It's really large. It holds 750 milliliters. It has a really nice looking cork coating, which means you can touch it and at any time it won't get hot. And it's antimicrobial. It absorbs no sweat, so there are no germs. It's awesome. So it's good for hiking, for working out, whatever.
Even with your toilet water hands, you can touch this bottle and it's not going to get those germs on there?
Right. I mean, you should wash always your hands after you go to the toilet. But it comes with a really nice handle, so you can carry it easy. You can put it on your backpack, whatever.
And the handle's movable, so it's not always getting in the way when you're trying to open it.
Right. It's double insulated, so it keeps everything warm or cold, doesn't matter. And they only produce in small quantities. And also there's no plastic at all. So it's a really cool product, and they also support really cool causes. Okay.
This great company is also doing a lot for our oceans, hence the name Salty Mind. And a portion of their profits goes to exactly that. So for example, they help to regrow coral reefs in the oceans. Yeah. So you can do this by going to Amazon. And when you get one of their bottles in the promo section, you can write in SPROSS 5 off.
That is SPROSS, the number 5, and OFF in capital letters. And you can get 5% off, support a good cause, and get a really awesome looking bottle. If that's too complicated, you can go to our blog.
You can go to spross.org and find the newest blog post about reusable water bottles. And all of the information you need is right in there.
Yeah. Back to the episode.
And we're back.
And we're back. Doing stuff right.
Yeah, so let's talk about now how to do things right, how to resolve an argument in the right way.
I'm an expert, obviously. Obviously, we are all experts here. Yes. We are not just 2 people talking stupid stuff or pretending to know shit. We are experts.
We're not experts.
Yes,
but
we are.
We're also not talking stupid stuff. We're just talking from
I have a doctor's title in crappyology.
We're just talking about our experience because maybe our experience helps people.
Well, you can
stop shitting on our podcast.
I'm not. You can cut that out. Okay, cool.
I think I'll leave it in.
Cool off.
Yes, cooling off is a good thing.
Yeah, so basically what I do, just create a little space for yourself. Go for a walk, go for a run, meet some chicks. Stuff, no, obviously not. Except you have chickens, you can meet them. They might want to meet you. But yeah, just create a little space for yourself and cool off and step down from the emotional part of the whole thing.
Basically let your rational brain catch up.
Right. That's getting down, stepping down from your ego. That's all it is. Stepping down from your ego, and don't say things like, oh, she's so stupid, or I wish she could just fucking blah, blah, blah. You know, stuff like that you would say while she's not around. You're like, that's not good, because you keep enforcing that
in your own
thinking
head.
in your own head, and you won't calm down. So just get away from it and maybe do something completely different, and get back to it.
And when you cool off, and this is something that Wolfgang is working on a little more, is to vocalize that to your partner, that you need that space in a nice way.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just walking away from the argument without saying anything, storming off, or saying something like, I'm going away now, or I need to get out of here. Instead of things like that feel so negative, you can say something like, I'm still upset, but I want to talk to you about this, or I don't want you to feel like you're ignored, but I need to take a little space for myself to cool down.
I can't do that.
It's very hard for him.
I can't do it.
But I understand it, because when you're so heated in the moment, it's hard to do that. But it is possible, because even when I'm mad at you, I still tell you I love you. And I say, I love you, but I can't talk about this right now. Or I love you, but this needs to be.
I love you, but I hate you.
I love you, but I hate you.
I love you,
No,
but you have to look
that.
into the gun.
No, but it's possible to get to that point. And it's also important for your partner. If you're the person who's taking the space and who's making the choice to walk away, it's good to vocalize it in a nice way.
Yeah, I think especially if you live together in like an apartment or in a closed space, that's where typically arguments heat up faster, because there's no space for you to just get back to, or like accept the toilet, and you don't want to spend a few hours on the toilet.
Some people do. Some people like that.
But maybe just, I don't know, create some space, or say, hey, I'm going for a walk, or just taking the bike out for a ride, something like that, you know.
And even if, like, say it's a really bad weather day or something and you can't do that.
There are umbrellas.
There are umbrellas. But you can even just tell your partner, hey, I'm going to go in the living room and watch something. Is it okay for you if I take up that space for a while?
Right.
Where in that sense, if you ask nicely about it and if you express that you need space in that way, I think most people would be like, yeah, sure, take your space and I'll take my space over here. When you live in a small space together, it's not always super easy.
Yeah.
But I think if you vocalize your needs in a calm way, then it can be worked out.
Yeah, then obviously apologize. I
Yes.
mean, that's we talked about this already.
Yep.
And then talk about the problem and find a solution together. I think that's the biggest thing, because
You want to fix the problem so it doesn't keep coming up.
Right. And some things come up again, like money is a common thing that people fight about. Kids, space, for example, or just habits, things that the other person does that annoys the other person.
Which, by the way, side note, I think it's totally okay to tell your partner if they do something, if they have some sort of habit that annoys you.
No, it's not. It's not okay, Danielle. Fuck you. No. Listen to me. No, it's totally okay.
Well, because eventually those things will snowball. Maybe you get more annoyed by it over time. Maybe it starts out as a small annoyance and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually it's this massive thing that drives you crazy.
And you wake up in the middle of the night with a knife to your throat. Stop fucking putting the dishes next to the fucking dishwasher.
You're so violent in this episode. Such a violent person right now.
Just talking out of my ass.
Yeah. Okay, your ass is really violent then.
Yeah. No, but that's true. That snowballs. So, yeah.
So it's totally okay to tell your partner those things. And if you have a sensitive partner, sometimes that's the case, but you don't have to say it in a mean way.
Hey, you stupid No, don't say it like that.
But there are nice ways to bring those things up where it's uncomfortable, but at least then it's said and it's out there. And
yeah.
If your partner chooses to do something about it.
I mean, we
not,
talked about this
to them.
already in a different episode where when you have something that you want to address, maybe do it like in a non-heated way, a moment. Especially if it's something that is reoccurring or maybe triggers the other person, like for example the phone usage with me sometimes, or other certain behaviors that is like something that you want to address, then do it in like a non-heated way, or a moment where it's loving and understanding, and say it in like a way that the other person doesn't feel attacked.
You don't necessarily have to do it in the moment that it happens either, so because it could be that the person does something and then you're like, ooh, that's really annoying. But you don't necessarily have to say it right in that second. If it's not the right timing, you can.
Yeah. And that brings us to the last 2 questions.
So basically, there's just some questions to think about. And this is more in the time of right after the argument when you have your own space and things that you can think about for yourself to then bring to a conversation later. So, and you can also talk about these things with your partner as well.
Right.
But one of the questions is there a deeper issue underlying the problem? So the reason that we fought, is there maybe something else going on, maybe anxiety or stress where you're already feeling these things and it just kind of, this little thing got built up with it? Or maybe it's a deeper issue.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it gives you a little time to think about maybe there's something more there than what we just argued about.
Yeah.
And the second question is, why did it become an argument at all? And I think that's a more difficult question because that can be taken different ways. It can be, you can talk about maybe there was something that triggered you, or maybe it's really simple. Maybe it's we fought because she did this or he did this.
I mean, those 2 questions correlate in a little way because that can also, again, say something, okay, maybe something happened, or maybe you said something 2 days or 3 days ago that still sticks with me, or I don't know.
You can also take the why did it become an argument as at what point did it go from conversation to argument? Like why, what is the exact reason why it got heated, where maybe it didn't need to be an argument, because then you can kind of analyze the argument itself and think, okay, in the future maybe I need to say something differently, or maybe I need to approach something differently, or whatever it might be.
Or maybe he's a wuss and he is not we are not allowed to say something about his weird looking hair. I don't know.
What?
I have no idea. Yeah. So I hope you're wiser now. We are, definitely.
No, we're not. We're experts already, right? So we don't need to.
We're experts in everything, basically. So hit us up with something and we talk about it.
If you need surgery, give us a call. No, please don't do that. Call a doctor.
But if you have any questions or suggestions or feedback or anything else that you want to tell us,
or a topic that you would like us to cover, if
that's what I meant with suggestion. Just hit us up on our Instagrams or on our website
or our email.
All
of that is linked in our description of this episode.
And again, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If not, then not thank you for sharing. And please subscribe and rate the podcast, and we will like you.
We'll like you anyways.
We will like you anyways. But thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.